What is your take on this entire situation? We know that a lot of doctors have sort of changed their mind over time because they began to understand that there's a lot of evidence that points in the direction that there really is no actual pandemic, but there is something else going on. What do you think of what's going on?
Well, my quick analysis is I believe that we're under the application of a form of bioterrorism that's worldwide, that appears to have been many years in the planning. And the first wave of the bioterrorism is a respiratory virus that spread across the world and affected relatively few people, about 1% of many populations, but generated great fear. The virus was responsible for some deaths in the very frail and elderly, but in otherwise well people, it was like having the common cold. But that fear was used very quickly and I think surprisingly to generate tremendous influences in human life, lockdowns, all the things you know about. Mm-hmm. And every single thing that was done in the public health response to the pandemic made it worse. So over testing and even lockdowns probably made it worse because the virus evolved over time to become more contagious. And so every single response made it worse. How I got involved is as a doctor, I thought the virus was going to be pretty easy to treat once we understood there were three phases: the viral replication, cytokine storm, and thrombosis. And so as I promulgated early treatment, I started to meet resistance at all levels in terms of actually treating patients and then publishing papers. And so I'm the editor of two major journals. I'm in the business of publishing. So fortunately, I had enough publication strength to publish basically the only two papers in the entire medical literature that teaches doctors how to treat COVID-19 at home to prevent hospitalization and death. And we did the best we could without any funding or government support. And we demonstrated that it results in about an 85% reduction in hospitalization and death. So what we had discovered is that the suppression of early treatment was tightly linked to the development of a vaccine. And the entire program, as this, in a sense, bioterrorism phase one was rolled out, was really all about keeping the population in fear and in isolation and preparing them to accept the vaccine, which appears to be phase two of a bioterrorism operation. Both the respiratory virus and the vaccine deliver to the human body the spike protein, the gain of function target of this bioterrorism research. Now, I can't come out and say all that on national TV today or any time, but what we had learned over time is that we could no longer communicate with government agencies. We actually couldn't even communicate with our propagandized colleagues in major medical centers, all of which appear to be under a spell. They almost as if they're hypnotized right now. And doctors, good doctors, are doing unthinkable things, like injecting biologically active messenger RNA that produces this pathogenic spike protein into pregnant women. I think when the doctors wake up from their trance, they're going to be shocked to think what they've done to people. And so our strategy was to organize. There are many groups. One group in the United States called C19 that I organized. Many of you get these emails. It's about 1,000 people. Another one's called FLCCC, Frontline Critical Care Consortium. Another worldwide one is called PANDA. You may be involved in that. There's also HEART and BIRD and COVID Medical Network, Treatment Domiciliary in Italy. It's gotten to the point where people have rallied in the UK and in Germany to rally for early treatment. Governments have actually tried to block even any single milligram of treatment to individuals. And so we decided by the summer we had to take our message to the people. We had one physician association that worked with us called the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons. We created a home patient guide. We organized the United States into 4 national telemedicine services, 15 regional services. We broke through to the people. And the people who got sick with COVID-19 called in, got medications prescribed to local pharmacies or to mail order distribution pharmacies. And so without the government really even understanding what was going on, we crushed the epidemic curve in the United States towards the end of December and January. We basically took care of the pandemic with about 500 doctors and telemedicine services. And to this day, we treat about 25% of the U.S. COVID-19 population that actually are at high risk over age 50 with medical problems or present with severe symptoms. And we've basically handled the pandemic. And at the same time, we've tried to keep ourselves above the political fray. And we understand the suppression of early treatment is tightly linked to vaccination. And then we've let all the news on vaccination come out and are working to change the public view of the vaccine. The public initially accepted the vaccine, and we had to kind of slowly turn the ship. And now in the United States, rates of vaccination have been dropping since April 8th. They continue to drop every day. The vaccine centers that I go by are completely empty. And in the United States, they're becoming desperate to try to convince individuals to get a vaccine. They're offering $1 million lotteries. All the universities who are trying to force vaccination are receiving resistance. I'm the lead expert in the bellwether Houston Methodist case, which is currently being argued before a judge in Texas. It's going to be quickly escalated to the Supreme Court of Texas, where Houston Methodist Hospital, a leading hospital, is attempting to force the employees to receive the vaccine. And we already have word that it's going to be escalated to the Supreme Court case. It'll be a very high visibility case. So we have a lot of activity going on in the United States. We are engaging more and more attorneys. It's great to have you and your team involved, on the international level. And I imagine we're aligned on almost all the things I said.
Yes. Let me quickly translate, but give us a chance, because I don't want to be rude, but I completely forgot to introduce you because I thought that everybody knows you. I think most people do, but please tell us a little about your background.
So let me introduce myself. I'm Peter McCullough. I'm a professor of medicine at Texas A&M College of Medicine on the Baylor Dallas campus. I practice internal medicine and cardiology. When the pandemic hit, I refocused all of my efforts on COVID-19. I'm the editor of Reviews in Cardiovascular Medicine. I'm the editor of Cardiorenal Medicine. This is my area of research. Senior Associate Editor of American Journal of Cardiology. I'm the president of the Cardiorenal Society. And in my field about heart and kidney connections, I'm the most published person in my field in the world in history. And I have developed a great experience in treating COVID-19. I've published the 2 major treatment papers, and I've led the early treatment initiative in the United States. So I have, whether people like it or not, I have declared my medical authority in doing this to a greater extent than anybody in public health agencies or any other media doctors.
Thank you so much. We can sure as hell be glad that you're on our side. Extremely grateful. So it appears that in the United States, at least, things are really changing right now.
We've clearly had an impact. I'm in Texas, where we never underwent lockdown. I was a strong proponent of us staying open. We had 35 treating doctors who are willing to go against their medical centers and treat patients. We were able to convince our governor to put an executive order recognizing natural immunity, banning any mandatory vaccines by public agencies, banning vaccine passports, banning any discrimination on passports. We recently passed similar legislation for private employers. However, we were unable to get in a ban on private employers mandating the vaccine. So that part is going to be litigated with the Houston Methodist bellwether case. We're very active. We have the American Frontline Doctors as another group that has a temporary restraining order in against pediatric vaccination filed in Alabama. And we have cases filed in the state of Maine against falsely coding the test results positive on inflating the number of cases and deaths. We have a variety of activities. We have allies in Washington, Senator Ron Johnson and Senator Rand Paul. We have allies in the media, largely Fox News and Real News and OAN. We don't yet have CNN or MSNBC, but the C19 group that I loosely formed, we now are on national TV almost every night in the United States to provide a counter viewpoint to Anthony Fauci and Walensky at the CDC and NIH. And we bring on different experts and continue to appear to the American people that we have more scientific credibility than the agencies.
And why do you think that is, that this, this window of opportunity has opened for you to be on national TV? I mean, that's quite something. I mean, here, at this point, this is impossible, basically.
Well, we had some help in the media. We had some open-eyed people who were willing to give some high-level interviews. We have good social media contacts all over the world that really amplified things. Although we're consistently shut down on Twitter and YouTube, we continue to find new strategies to get the points out. We're very evidence-based. United States, we're a whole country of rebels and people who want to break the law, and that's who we are. And so we have, the Children's Health Defense Fund, Robert F. Kennedy, Del Bigtree. We have some very big figures. I mean, we've had Senator Rand Paul come out and say, listen, I'm not taking the vaccine. I've had COVID-19. So did Senator Johnson. Sebastian Gorka, who interviewed me, he used to be in the Trump administration. He interviewed me. He's going to come out on Sunday night and say he took hydroxychloroquine and defeated COVID-19 in December. He's not taking the vaccine. So, we have to have people be making these public statements. For instance, on Real TV with Dan Ball coming up in a few hours, he's going to come on and say he's not taking the vaccine. We've helped shut down the Los Angeles School District from mandating the vaccine. His kids go to school there. They've backed off on the mandates. So we're working very hard. This is the strategy. We know that this is bioterrorism. We know that this is phase 2 of bioterrorism, and we don't know who's behind it, but we know that they want a needle in every arm to inject messenger RNA or adenoviral DNA into every human being. They want every human being. Our goal is, we can't stop from everybody, but our goal is to get a large group that they cannot get to, that they cannot vaccinate. And that would be COVID recovered, suspected COVID recovered, those with immunity, children, pregnant women, childbearing women. We want a big block. And if we can get that big block and break them, if we can break the needle in every arm, then I think it'll be exposed on what is the plan for a needle in every arm.
I'm sure glad that this is happening in the U.S. right now, because it took some time for people to really get going there. We're in close touch and in close cooperation with the attorneys that we didn't mention any names, but I know Anna Garner and Tom Renz, who are working on this TRO in Alabama. Of course, we're in close cooperation with CHD, Bobby Kennedy, Mary Holland. And we're also in close cooperation with these people and others in other countries, like on the African continent, for example. And there's some really good things going on right now. The tragic thing is, though, that here in Germany, I think we have now a rate of vaccination where people have gotten their second vaccination, so-called vaccination, of only 19%. But those who got their first shot are up to close to 50%. And whenever I'm in a cab, for example, talking to the cab drivers, it's very easy to talk with them because they seem to understand much more than many of the scientists and doctors who appear on mainstream media. And they spread the news. But it's more important, I think, and that's what we're trying to do here in Germany and internationally. It's more important to spread the word, to explain to the people, to get out the truth, to explain to them what these shots really do. And I saw an interview with you, which is almost mirrored by what your colleagues in Canada. We spoke with Dr. Roger Hodkinson. We spoke with Professor Luc Montagnier and with Byron Bridle. No, we haven't spoken to Byron Bridle yet, but everyone agrees this has got to stop immediately. This is it's monstrously dangerous. We heard about how pregnant women who got the shots, it appears in their breast milk. And of course, I don't know if you said this or Byron Bridle said this, but there's some cases of suckling infants who suffered bleeding disorders and other problems. So this is a monstrous thing that needs to be stopped, and I think everybody agrees on this.
Well, we're trying to get to this public health message that can really get the public health attention. So I think it was about a week ago, Harvey Risch and I appeared on Fox News, and Harvey Risch did describe the vignette of the woman who got the vaccine and breastfeeding, and it killed the baby. Today, we have 800 cases of young people developing myocarditis or inflammation of the heart. Mm-hmm. And because I'm a cardiologist, I have a good clinical authority position here. And I'm going to opine that because there's no clinical benefit whatsoever in young people to get the vaccine, that even one case is too many. And the CDC, distributed their slides today, and their conclusion is, well, we're going to reevaluate again a little bit later on in June. So our agencies have done nothing to reduce the risks of the vaccine. It's called risk mitigation. And I've chaired over 24 data safety monitoring boards for the FDA and the National Institutes of Health. And with this program, there is no critical event committee, there is no data safety monitoring board, and there's no human ethics committee. Those structures are mandatory for all large clinical investigations. And so the word that's really used for what's going on is malfeasance, is wrongdoing by those in position of authority. And without any safety measures in place, you can see what's going on. We're administering basically it's the largest application of a biological product with the greatest amount of morbidity and mortality in the history of our country. We are at over 5,000 deaths, as you know. I think 15,000 hospitalizations. In the EU, it's over 10,000 deaths. We are working with Center for Medicaid Services, CMS data, and we have a pretty good lead that the real number is tenfold. We knew from data from Harvard in 2016 that the vaccine adverse event reporting system only reports about 10% of what's really going on. So we had to get another data source, and we have inside people. We have now a whistleblower inside the CMS, and we have two whistleblowers within the CDC. And those are being developed right now in order to get this out. So we're looking at 10x. We think we have 50,000 dead Americans, 50,000. So we actually have more deaths due to the vaccine per day than certainly the viral illness by far. It's basically, in a sense, it's propagandized bioterrorism by injection.
Yeah. And the big question is who's behind this. The picture is becoming clear.
So how many states are without any lockdown or like other, nuisances with regards to the measures, corona, anti-COVID?
30 now, right?
Yeah, I don't know the numbers, but it's clear that the lead states are Texas and Florida, which is good. Those are two very big states. And Florida has the most elderly people. Yeah. And so they have shown, and that's where COVID strikes the most. So we have shown great resilience in these independent states with these governors. I just got the email from Laura Ingraham on Fox News to just give you an idea. At least we have one major news station that's with us. Her email says tonight we're going to talk about in a few hours the mistrust in Fauci and the medical elites who do his bidding, the fallout from his emails, to do a hydroxychloroquine study that showed the drug was unfairly maligned to finally maligned. Finally, this new concern about heart issues in young men after their second vaccination. The public has very little faith in what we're being told in terms of life and death. So you can see how we have really come a long way to get the media, at least some of the media now coming with us. What I've learned in this whole thing is we gave up on the scientific publications. We've gave up on these other things. We have to go straight to the people.
Yeah. That is precisely what we think, too. There's one major medium here in this country which has been critical, not overly critical, but critical to a point. They have just come out, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, with a story that explains how fraudulently the government, our own government, informed the people about how the healthcare system was being overwhelmed when it wasn't. They gave us completely false numbers, completely false figures as far as the intensive care beds are concerned. We had many more than they claimed, and in addition, there are real financial incentives to keep these beds unoccupied because there's so much money that's being paid to the hospitals and to the doctors. But this is all, the one good thing about this is all coming out into the open, so to be able to deal with this, and we will, because we have enough people who are willing to fight, and I think there's many more who just couldn't bring themselves to come out into the open, but a few of them we just met today, including the doctor who saved that woman whom we interviewed a couple of weeks ago.
I think Wolfgang wants to say something.
I think Wolfgang wants to ask a question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I have one thing or two things. One is that with the hospitals, we have from the office who is controlling the government and how they spend the money. They have clear numbers. They say that the clinical care in Germany cost 1.5 billion more than last year's, and they have 8% less patients in the same time. So they got a lot of money, but it was never overloaded, the clinical system in Germany. And the other thing I wanted to just you speak about bioterrorism, and I want to distinguish there because you speak about bioterrorism by vaccination, and I think you're right when you say this, but because I don't think that there is a dangerous virus on the way now. Because if we speak about bioterrorism by gain-of-function viruses, I'm very sure that gain-of-function viruses, if they would spread, they could not spread because they would kill their hosts. And so it's a very stupid virus that kills the host. So I'm eager to tell the people that they needn't be afraid of dangerous viruses that come from some laboratory in Wuhan, and so that people are not terrified because there's something special. It's just a coronavirus, and we are acquainted to coronaviruses, to SARS viruses, beta coronaviruses since 20 years. And so our immune system is. So don't be afraid of the virus, but be afraid of the vaccination. The bioterrorism, this is the vaccination and not the virus.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you that the natural immunity will be able to handle the variants as far as I can see. I'm not predicting another wave. In fact, my last TV appearance, I told America, listen, there's not going to be another wave. And so when I come down, when I talk to America, I'm very positive. I give a very joyous message. I calm down the country. And by doing that, Fauci and the other people can't stand it because they want to promote fear, they want to promote suffering, and they want to promote this vaccine. And so that's their message. And so we're just the opposite, and we agree with you. Now, what could be happening is, let's say there's an adversary. Let's just say it's China. They could be dealing at a very high level saying, listen, we do have, C21. We have a more virulent virus, and we want, favorable trade status, or we want other things, because they'll say, listen, we showed you what can happen with, the first round. We have something. So there may be a threat, but I agree with you in terms of the natural infection. It will move around. I think it's going to hit Southeast Asia. It's going to hit some more vulnerable populations. But if we can simply respond with treatment in every case, Mexico City, countries in South America, United States, and now India, every single case, when we crush the curves with early treatment, if we just treat the high-risk patients, by treating patients with multi-drug treatment, we reduce the duration of symptoms, we reduce the spread dramatically, and we reduce hospitalization and death. It's very, very important. The only thing that can do that. Vaccination will not do that. Vaccination, because the people getting the vaccine have less than a 1% chance of ever coming in contact with the virus. And then when they do, they have a way less than 1% chance of even getting the virus. It's impossible for the vaccine to have an impact on the epidemic curve. And that's another message we've been getting out to the public, because the people promoting the vaccine are going to claim victory, that, things worked out in our favor. And Brown in Canada and others have done great analyses. It's mathematically impossible for the vaccine to have any impact. The CDC in the United States has recorded 10,000 breakthrough cases, bona fide breakthrough cases where the vaccine failed. And we don't know the denominator, but we knew it was very labor intense. And our read on their action is they were overwhelmed with the number of breakthrough cases. Overwhelmed. They gave up. At the end of May, they gave up. They said, we're not going to track any more breakthrough cases. So,
yes, and we know that when the clinical studies were finished, the absolute risk reduction is about around 1%.
Yeah.
And the others, they were already immune. So this is ridiculous. The effect of the vaccination to protect people is ridiculous.
It's completely ridiculous. We have data from Cleveland Clinic that just published that 50% of people who are already immune, naturally immune, they're still getting the vaccine because they were told by the government to get the vaccine. We have data from 3 studies, 2 in the UK and 1 in the United States, showing of those who get the vaccine, about 30% are already immune, COVID immune. So you can see how the vaccine is contrived. This whole thing is contrived. It should be very obvious that now the CDC has changed the cycle threshold down to lower. Yeah. So they're going to make fewer cases. So it's going to look like things like the vaccine saved it. So maybe the thing about this in bioterrorism injection is, why did they make it so toxic right now where so many people are dying? Why didn't they make it more acceptable? Because I think what the real payload of the bioterrorism is going to be on the boosters.
Mm-hmm. That's what we begin to fear too. Let me explain why Wolfgang said this, because the other day I had an interview with Steve Bannon. And he heard me out. He didn't quite agree because it seems that was news to him. But this is what really happened, and we know this from talking to 2 former WHO employees. There was an accident at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, yes, and the Chinese were really worried about it, and that's why they ordered the person who runs that lab to come back immediately. And even while she was still on the train, they took down their website so as to cover their tracks. So they were really worried. But within 2 or 3 weeks, they realized, well, nothing much had happened. However, the other side, as we call them, took this as the springboard as a triggering incident to put that agenda into motion, which they had been planning for at least 10 years. They've been planning for longer, but for 10 years we can see there are concrete plans that they've been making. And the final, I guess you could call it a dry run, was this Event 201, which is really Event 21 because the O is the Earth, in October of 2019. So that's when they decided we're going to take this opportunity, and that's when they told Drosten. That's why we were at this hearing this morning at the inquiry. That's when then they told Drosten, start your work on your PCR tests. He started his work on New Year's Eve, we believe. And a couple of weeks later, on the 22nd and 23rd of January, there was an enormous push, probably by the pharmaceutical industry, on the WHO to finally declare the public health emergency of international concern, because that's what you need in order to get the emergency use authorization in the United States for these vaccines, which are completely untested, or the conditional use authorization here in Europe. But they couldn't agree on anything because there were no cases. But they did agree on one thing. They're going to have another second emergency meeting 2 weeks later in early February. And that's when they declared the public health emergency of international concern. Why? Because they had been using the Dresden test, because he had made this test, this PCR test, available to them, and they had pushed it as the gold standard for the entire world, as the gold standard for detecting infections. As we all know, in the meantime, you cannot detect infections with the PCR test. And as we also know, because of the people who, one of the experts is Dr. Mike Yeadon, who I know you're in touch with, and he told us if you go up to 35 cycles of amplification, you end up with at least 97% false positives. This guy had his cycles of amplification up to 45. So guess what this is? All false positives. That's why Wolfgang is saying it is not the accident, it is not the dangerous virus that escaped from the lab. It's the vaccinations that we have to be worried about, and it's probably correct. I mean, I can't be the judge of this because I'm not a medical doctor, but it's probably correct that we really have to be afraid of the boosters.
Yeah, well, we've learned a lot. You know, you probably have reviewed that autopsy case from Germany just a few days ago that came out. But yeah, we've learned that, I'm sure you know all this, but we were told by the Salk Institute and by the manufacturers that the lipid nanoparticles and the messenger RNA in them stay in the arm. They don't. Yeah. They distribute elsewhere. Our radiologists know that the breast becomes incredibly inflamed in a woman so much that they can't read a mammogram. They've actually changed their mammography criteria, at least in my hospital and I know elsewhere. And that the autopsy showed that in fact there's a tremendous distribution of, and you've reviewed it, the spike protein is clearly pathogenic. I mean, you can see that this is going on. This was absolutely by design. This is a weapon of bioterrorism, and to inject messenger RNA or adenoviral DNA and cause an uncontrolled production of the spike protein in the human body is a very, very biologically dangerous proposition. We don't know what controls how the height of the production of the spike protein, the organs in which it's produced, where it circulates to. We know it causes a unique form of thrombosis, which is partly hemagglutination, because the spike protein attaches to sialic acid residues on red blood cells. Normally, coagulation, the red blood cells are not involved, but here the red blood cells are. We know that, for instance, the Italians have shown that when the oxygen saturation goes down in the lungs, it's due to microthrombosis. Mm-hmm. So you can imagine, of course, giving Chinese remdesivir to somebody with microthrombosis in the lungs is going to do nothing. And so one person who you may want to talk to, he's kind of flamboyant, but he's interesting. He's got influence, is Steve Kirsch. Steve Kirsch is a millionaire. And Steve Kirsch has offered $2 million publicly to say, can anybody show that the CDC, FDA, or NIH has done one single thing correct in the pandemic response? If he can, he'll pay $2 million. And no one has even brought forward, no one's even written him a letter. So, you know, this is, it's a colossal blunder. And of course, the news is interested. The news cycle is always promulgated by this. But our goal is to take the message to the public to remain impeccable and unimpeachable in our scientific integrity, to always present ourselves very professionally, and see if we can win public opinion to have a block of people not get the vaccine. And then once that occurs and it becomes clear, I think the other side will be exposed.
Yeah. Why
did they want this vaccine? We are seeing safety events like you can't believe. You saw the portal vein thrombosis. I've had that in my patients. Myocardial infarctions, myocarditis. I had a woman yesterday in the office. Her memory was completely obliterated after the vaccine. It's so disconcerting. So we're filling out these safety events. And at some point in time, the public opinion is going to have to turn. We have two big populations that are distrustful in the United States. We have African Americans at 12%, and we have Hispanics at 20%. And they're largely not taking the vaccine. Mm-hmm. And we're working with African American churches and making presentations. And the African Americans say, we know the government was lying to us. So they know already. So that's our plan in a nutshell. I think we're really completely aligned. We do need to win big cases, though. Yeah. So Anna Garner, all these people, Mike Rentz, we've got to win. I mean, honestly, you think there's fear among doctors? there's fear among attorneys. I am amazed at how many attorneys are so fearful that they can't even file a letter of intent. In fact, we have one attorney, he made a template and he goes, here, I'll show you how to file your own letter of intent. You pay your own filing fee. I said, my God, I'm a doctor. I'm a media person. I'm taking care of patients. I'm publishing manuscripts. Now I have to do my own legal work. I mean, it's amazing. The fear that's overcome people.
The thing is, on an international scale, I think we're only cooperating with 100 attorneys. I mean, 100 attorneys in the entire world. There must be many, many more, of course. But we're making progress because of those cases, the ones that you're mentioning, and there's a couple of really big cases that all of us, including our American colleagues, are working on. I can't tell you the details because we don't want this to be in any way disturbed. But you're right. This is the only way to go, by cautiously proceeding in a scientifically correct manner without foam at the edges of our mouths, so that finally we will win public opinion and then we'll expose the people who are behind this.
Right. Let me tell you where I think there's some distractions and we're wasting our time. And that's on wearing masks. So, for instance, I mean, if they would love us to be arguing about masks while they continue to give injections, right?
Right.
So I try not to make masks the signature issue. Another area is this extreme view that the disease doesn't occur, like Dolores Cahill. I think that's a bit of a waste of time because we have enough information from sequencing. We can see this in nucleocapsid. I mean, we know it's physically there in some cases. We know it's grossly overstated because of everything you mentioned. And we know there's a big cover-up. At my hospital health system, for instance, they have now the COVID cases are considered break the glass, meaning they get admitted to closed units. We can't even see what's going on with them. So they're not open to peer review. We're not having open peer review. So we really have due process breakdown even within healthcare. And so, but what we want to do is that we need help. You know, we need help from psychiatrists and sociologists.
Absolutely.
Because there is a trance. There are doctors that are telling their patients to take the vaccine. Their patients are taking the vaccine and dying in thrombosis, and the doctors are, not doing anything. Injecting pregnant women with experimental messenger RNA. I mean, this is like a horror. This is something that would never occur in good clinical practice, where doctors are saying that they won't see patients in their waiting room unless they get the vaccine. I think a big target is, and this is my responsibility, is we have to win the doctors. The doctors are a big problem here.
And we need, you're right. This is what I said right from the start. This is a huge psychological operation. We need to talk to the psychiatrists, to the psychologists, and they're using as their major weapon, they're using the mainstream media in order to indoctrinate people with this panic package, which they invented over many years. Sick people on the other side, definitely very sick people.
But you see this Chinese professor from Emory, she gets on CNN, and they've gone further. They've linked the vaccine to freedoms. And this has occurred in Europe, I know, where they said, listen, people need to understand, they need to get the vaccine to get their freedom back. It was like, wow. Wow.
We know this from the mafia, This is just what the mafia does. It's a very, very old method.
Stimmt.
If you let us protect you, you have to pay a little for this. Everything is okay. If we are not allowed to protect you, you will see what happens.
Well, what we're trying to do is most of this is actually just sheer intimidation. So an example is we have, several hundred universities now in the United States declaring that they're going to demand the vaccine. Interestingly, they demand the vaccine for the students, but not for the professors. The CDC and NIH and FDA, they're not taking the vaccine themselves, which is quite interesting. So, but in every circumstance that I'm aware of, they have not written a policy. So for hospitals, they must have a policy, and it must be certified and be in the policy library, because hospitals in the United States are accredited by the Joint Commission for Hospital Accreditation. So there have been no signed policies because they know they can't write a policy mandating an investigational vaccine. You can't have a policy, forcing people into research. So if an institution, a hospital or university, demands the vaccine without a policy, by definition, that's harassment or intimidation. And so we now have parents filing letters of intent identifying harassment, and they are filing it with compliance offices, ombudsman's offices. They're filing it with offices that by their charter must take some internal action. So we're making these institutions do an incredible amount of administrative work. We're punishing them for doing this. The Los Angeles School District backed off. Louisiana State University backed off. We had Texas win at the state and in private employer level. So we have to continue this effort. And hopefully the mass psychology starts this media or psychological training. When I go on, there's no preparation. I'm just doing the best I can, but I'm a doctor. I'm not a media person. So.
Yeah. Okay.
And I have one question. Sorry.
I just want to say one thing before I forget. Dr. Bhakti, Dr. Yaden, Dr. Vanden Bosch, and even Dr. Bridle. Here's the problem. Too long. When they do a video, hour and a half, they are completely ineffective in giving their message. Completely ineffective. They need to tailor their message down to 1 minute or 2 minutes.
Yes. And
okay, this is... honestly, people refer these videos and they're dead on arrival. Yeah. And not only that, but they're not credible. They don't look credible. So Bhakti, Laura Ingraham had him on one time, and Bhakti was sitting there. He goes, "If we vaccinate the world, we are doomed," like this. And she goes, "Okay, thank you, doctor." And they just shut him down. You can't do that. He has to understand. These people have to understand the media is very important. Yeah. Maybe tonight with Laura Ingraham, I'll have 1.5 minutes. It's got to be impeccable. The look has to be impeccable, and the message has to be short. It's an art to doing this, and we need help. Bridle, he shut down. I think somebody threatened him or threatened his child, and he shut down. Yeah, it's very the threat. I want to mention that we're paying attention to who's attacking us.
Yes.
When I testified in the Texas Senate, I was attacked by a French reporter. French. Why are the French watching Texas Senate? So recently, I was very heavily attacked in the media by a Singapore woman, and we traced her directly to the Gates Foundation. So, yeah.
That explains the whole story. So we know who is going to be exposed ultimately. Very good. Very good. Yeah, that is the thing. We can't just sit here and weep. We have to fight back. That's the only way to do it.
And strong. So what I'm doing is I'm actually taking the moral authority, and I'm challenging who here has a greater amount. I said in a single person, I've seen and examined more patients. I've treated more patients. I've published more on COVID-19. I have the best academic record. I've had the illness myself. My father has had it. I've had a death in my family due to the illness. Who in one single person in the world can say that?
Yeah.
So I am taking the moral and clinical and ethical and human authority and challenging anybody to come after me, because the only way to get the other side to back down is to be supremely confident and strong. Supremely confident and strong. Well, I don't like what Bridle's doing right now. He's backing off. Something happened, and then he's backing off. Other people, go into fear and hiding. We have to be very, very strong.
Are you born in Texas?
No, I was born in Buffalo, New York.
Okay, because you sound like a Texan.
Yeah, I am. I grew up here as a kid.
Okay.
But I'm willing to wear my cowboy boots when I go on the stand. So,
I used to do that when I went to court in Seattle.
Yes, I trained in Seattle. But this is very important. Something obviously is going on very wrong in the world. And if we sit by and do nothing, obviously a lot of people have died. A lot of people are being tortured. I am very afraid, based on what we're learning just by the first injections, that they interact with P53 and BRCA, that they could ultimately lead to cancers. They could lead to cancers. The Japanese have already shown us the lipid particles concentrated in the ovaries. Could they be sterilizing? If you said this is all a Gates Foundation program to reduce the population, it's fitting pretty well with that hypothesis, right?
Yes.
The first wave was to kill the old people by the respiratory infection. The second wave is to take the survivors and target the young people and sterilize them. If you notice the messaging in the countries, the United States, they're not even interested in old people now. They want the kids. They want the kids. There's such a focus on the kids.
Yeah. And that's who we have to protect. That's a whole new can of worms that we're going to have to open, but we're going to have to deal with this. You're right.
Yeah, so I'm going to come on strong tonight about, the kids shouldn't be touched with a needle. We're at 800 cases of heart injury in these kids. Some of them, it's really pretty significant, and it's going to lead to heart failure. And we need to scare parents so hard.
Yes.
In the United States, in one state, they've already put the groundwork that the kids age 12 can accept the vaccine on their own without family consent. That's never happened in history. In Toronto the other day, they lured the kids out to get ice cream, and they held the parents back, and they were vaccinating the kids.
Oh my God.
It's terrible. My wife is Canadian, and her mother was forcibly vaccinated. She doesn't speak English very well. And a healthcare worker came over. There was some type of dispute, and before she knew it, she was injected. She doesn't even know what she got. So it's happening. I predict that it will come to forcible injection. They're going to take it this far.
We're going to stop that.
We have to.
There's no choice.
But I predict it's coming. It's already happened in part in Indonesia. Mm-hmm. I guarantee it's happening in places right now. It's probably happened in nursing homes and other places where people
know it happened in nursing homes. We do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We have to stop it. Mm-hmm. And we have to see what's behind it. Is it Bill Gates trying to control the population? Is it the Chinese trying to, pressure for bioterrorism? Is it something more malevolent? To me, what was masterful is the psychological part of this. How did they pull this off from a mass psychology perspective? How did they do this?
That's why we have to talk to the psychiatrists and to the psychologists. They have the answers.
They have the answers. Okay?
Well, Dr. McCullough, this was both an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's stay in touch. Thank you.
And let's stay in the saddle. Yes.
All right. Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
Thanks so much.
This story with COVID-19 is just a lie.
They've done a very good job at using the quarantine to bring 5G into all of our communities.
We can't back down from mandatory vaccination.
Liity nyt asiantuntija-videopostituslistallemme osoitteessa www.rapsodia.fi, niin saat aina tiedon uusimmista videoistamme.